furtherance of its financial system stability mandate, the Central Bank of Nigeria is committed to providing support for affected households, businesses, regulated financial institutions, and other stakeholders in order to cushion the adverse economic consequences of this pandemic on our people. Accordingly, the Central Bank of Nigeria hereby announces the following policy measures. But before I go into the details of that, as you may know, the Central Bank of Nigeria, operating through our deposit money banks, has close to about 3 trillion naira in various forms of intervention facilities, either through Anchor Borrowers Program, through our Commercial Agricultural Credit Scheme Program, through our Micro, Small, and Medium Enterprises Program, or through our AXMIS Program. Since we do expect, and it's dawning on everybody, that as a result of this pandemic, that revenues that will accrue to businesses, particularly to even run their business, not to talk of even revenues that will accrue to them from where they pay their bank loans, have become so short. Naturally, we expect that there will be difficulty by businesses to service their loans. So we make the following propositions amongst many others that we'll be making from time to time as we proceed in this journey. 1. Extension of moratorium. All the Central Bank of Nigeria intervention facilities are hereby granted a further moratorium of 1 year on all principal repayments effective March 1, 2020. This means that any intervention loan currently under moratorium are hereby granted additional period of moratorium of 1 year. Accordingly, participating financial institutions are hereby directed to provide new amortization schedules for all facilities for their beneficiaries. 2. Interest rate reduction. Interest rates on all applicable Central Bank of Nigeria intervention facilities are hereby reduced from 9% to 5% per annum for 1 year, effective March 1, 2020. 3. Creation of a targeted credit facility. The Sybian hereby establishes a facility through National Microfinance Bank to the sum of about 50 billion naira for households and micro, small, and medium enterprises that have been particularly hit by COVID-19, including but not limited to hoteliers, airline service providers, healthcare merchants, and etc. 4. Credit support for healthcare industry. To meet potential increase in demand for healthcare services and products, the CBN hereby opens for its intervention facilities loans to pharmaceutical companies intending to expand or establish their own drug manufacturing plants in Nigeria, as well as to hospital and healthcare practitioners who intend to expand or build healthcare facilities to first-class standards. This is in addition to growing the size of our existing interventions to the agricultural and manufacturing sectors in Nigeria. 5. Regulatory forbearance. The CBN hereby grants all deposit money banks leave to consider temporary and time-limited restructuring of the tenor and loan terms for businesses and households most affected by this outbreak of COVID-19, particularly the oil and gas, agric, manufacturing. The CBN would work closely with our deposit money banks to ensure that the use of this forbearance is targeted, that it is transparent and temporary, whilst maintaining individual DNB's financial strength and overall financial stability of this system. What are we saying here? You took a loan from a bank because there's a drop in your revenues arising from the adverse consequences you're suffering as a result of COVID-19. We're saying that the banks have been granted for a dispensation where they should be able to restructure your loans for a longer tenure, so that what you're going to be repaying to the bank as either principal plus interest, even this is even aside from our intervention facilities, whatever you're going to be paying to the banks, either as principal repayment or loan repayment, is reduced substantially because of the fact that your loan would have been restructured for a longer tenure and possibly at lower interest rates, so that your business can remain alive. Strengthening of the CBN loan deposit ratio policy. In view of the success of the loan deposit ratio policy in growing credit to the economy and reducing interest rates, the CBN would further support industry funding levels to maintain deposit money bank capacity to direct credit to individuals, households, and businesses. We would also consider additional incentives to encourage extension of longer tenured credit facilities to borrowers. Deposit money banks are encouraged to continue to build capital buffers in order to improve resilience of the banking sector. Lastly, the CBN stands ready to provide liquidity backstops as and when required in view of its role as banker to the federal government and lender of last resort. The CBN would continue to monitor developments and will issue further updates and directives as may be deemed appropriate.